Andy Hoare, welcome to Friday 15, everyone, with Master B2B. My name is Brian Beck, here with my co-host, Andy Hoare. We're rocking out on Friday morning. Thanks so much for joining us. We've got an exciting session to cover today about accelerating digital. Andy, good to be here with you.
Yeah, good to be here with you. This is a really good one. We just did some research, some proprietary research, and we're going to share some high-level findings.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And we're going to do this one in 15 minutes, Andy. I promise everyone's listening. We'll see if we can get it done. We'll try. We're trying to get better at that, folks. So anyhow, Andy, did you see this week MDM, right? Actually, this wasn't this week. This is a report from the sort of the whole first quarter. MDM released a story about softening, trudging through a soft cycle. Now, MDM follows the wholesale sector and distribution, master distribution management, or modern distribution management, excuse me. And quote from this from MDM, their article says nearly every major distributor's Q1 financial release mentioned softened market demand has led to modest sales growth or declines, and the vast majority of the sector expects current conditions to persist. There's so many confusing signals in this market, Andy. I don't know what to believe here. Stock market keeps going up, then you get this stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, will inflation go up, go down? Will interest rates go up, go down? I don't think anybody knows, but I do think the uncertainty is kind of caught up with things. And I do think these companies are now starting to see a softening. We just saw yesterday or recently that Salesforce announced that their numbers have gone down pretty dramatically. They didn't hit their growth numbers and their stock's down like 20%, which they're at the tip of the spear. And I think they're starting to indicate that that there is softening demand. So, but I'll say this the same thing I always say, which is let's see. This could change next month.
Well, the other thing I'll tell you is I don't know necessarily, MDM is focused on distribution. As we revealed last week, some of our research, the fact of the matter is, some of that demand is going to other channels like Amazon Business. So it may not just be the economy we're talking about here. It may be shifts in where people are buying products and the demand, really demand shifting more towards e-commerce, which is, hey, why we exist, folks, here at Master B2B. And our topic today is the keys to accelerating digital in 2024. How do you really, take on these, this opportunity and confront it head on? And, we did a bunch of research here and asked some questions. We're going to get into what that said. We have a whole report out on this now. We'll have a link in this later on. It's taking your strategy to the next level. It was presented by Master B2B. We did all the research. It was in partnership with commercetools. And this stat alone says a lot, Andy. 83% of B2B organizations plan to spend more money on digital in 2024. 83%. I mean, yeah, you can say the economy is softening, but my goodness, companies are paying attention. This is really a reversal from what we've seen in 2023 and 2022, right?
Yeah, well, and the thing is to reconcile this with the Salesforce news. Salesforce's news is backward looking. It's in hindsight, it's retrospective. This is prospective. And what people are telling us is that they're doubling down on digital. And this is a pretty big jump. I think what happened was during the pandemic, there was a ton of spending on digital. And then immediately following the pandemic, we had a bit of a hangover because people spent a lot of money and the companies were saying, hey, tell us where the ROI is on this. And there was a bit of a hiccup there. And now what's happening is it's coming back because companies are realizing and some stopped spending money on digital. And guess what happened? It didn't go very well. So they realized that spending on digital is not a project, but rather a program. So I think we're starting to hit that stride where companies now realize we spent money on digital, we stopped, it hurt us. Now we're going to spend money again.
Yeah, no, it's actually fascinating because the number one driver of this, and I know, when I was in Denver 2 weeks ago, Andy, or several weeks back on, doing a roundtable, we talked about, storytelling, getting C-suite alignment. Historically, the C-suite, the leadership hasn't been fully aligned, and that materializes in budget. But when we did our survey, we found this was shocking to me. Leadership is finally on board. Check this out. 94% of respondents to our survey, this is just very recent, reported that support for digital initiatives from the CEOs. B2B businesses now have the executive buy-in needed to make technology investments. So the tide seems to be turning here, right, Andy? Is that what you're taking away?
Yeah, I think the debate is now over. The why question, why are we doing digital? I think it's over. I mean, we had the pre-pandemic, then we had the pandemic, then we had the post-pandemic, and now we're in the post-pandemic.
Right.
And I think people now realize that this digital thing is real. So the real question now is about budget. So it's not whether you should spend money on digital, but
Yes.
how much. And that's where it gets kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, look at this data we found. We asked the question, has your company provided you with sufficient financial resources to achieve your technology investment goals for 2024? Look at this. Almost 90% said yes. Wow. And if we asked that question last year, I think we get a very different answer, or even in 22, right? So, the money's available. So with power, with with dollars comes responsibility and greater demands. I mean, this to me, Andy, this harkens back to my B2C days when I was running e-commerce at different, Harbor Freight and PacSun and all these consumer brands and retailers. You were expected to drive all kinds of ROI. You were getting a lot of dollars in those days. And we're talking about 10 years ago. You're getting a lot of dollars invested, multi-million dollar capital budgets, et cetera. But you were expected to deliver. It's so funny to talk about this in my book, right? The whole, B2C, all this is like very familiar to me anyway, because it's because it's where we were, 10, 15 years ago, B2C, because look, with power comes pressure compared to 3 years ago. The time frame in which I need to show an ROI on B2B commerce these days has, guess what, sped up versus just a couple of years ago. More pressure is here, right?
Yeah. So good news and bad news, right? If you're running e-commerce in a company, your C-suite is bought into digital. Check. You have the resources largely to make it happen. Check. But now they're like, hey, you better deliver. And that's where some people have a big X in their mark. And so some of them are now like, hey, how do I measure that? And there's a problem in both directions. There's how do you actually produce the result for that amount of money that's been out there? Because it's a bit unprecedented for a lot of digital. I mean, digital is no longer a side business. It is the business. And so
Right.
it's being subjected to a lot of the same metrics and scrutiny that the rest of the business is being subjected to. The funny thing and the ironic part about that is now I'm hearing from digital folks that they're having problems convincing the C-suite about what metrics matter because the CFO and the target is always the CFO. The CFO is used to depreciating assets and kind of standard, margin growth, et cetera. But how do you measure things like the fact that online you can change prices more quickly? And because you can change prices more quickly, you can be more adaptable to the circumstances. I guess at the end of the day, you'll have better margins from that. But there's a clear value associated with what online offers and what digital offers that I don't think, at least what I'm hearing, a lot of CFOs fully appreciate because they haven't lived in this digital world long enough.
Well, that's right. And it's funny because, you think about B2B companies, Andy, and how traditionally conservative they are, right? I mean, in terms of how they make decisions, getting full buy-in from every business unit and functional. And you rarely hear the word aggressive with regard to the way people are investing in B2B. But we asked the question in our survey, how aggressively are you investing on improving your customer experience? And the vast majority said either aggressively or very aggressively. So I think this is a reflection of this pressure that's come, right? And
Well, plus the bar keeps rising. So in parallel with all this internal pressure around results and ROI, there's this ongoing pressure from the market around customer experience. Every time Amazon launches a new feature, AI delivers a whole different experience. I think there's a lot of AI in this probably because companies are realizing that if you don't keep up with the Joneses, you're done.
Yeah, I was recently at Amazon up in Seattle for several days, Andy, meeting with a number of folks, and it's incredible, the things that they're continuing to do with Amazon Business. I spent a lot of time with Amazon Business and understanding what they're investing in, and their rate, that bar is continuing to go up because they really are customer focused in a way that I unfortunately see a lot of particularly distributors not, right? I mean, some of the ones who are succeeding obviously are, but anyway, to your point about the bar, it continues to go up. So the question is, where is investment going? Where is, what are people investing in? And this is really the crux of our report. And obviously on a Friday 15, we don't have a time to get into every one of these things. You'll have to download the thing, right? In order to actually get it. And it's free. So we're going to give you a link in a second. But, where's the investment going? It's going into 4 areas, and we cover these in our report. Digital tools, so streamlining operations, improving customer experience. Culture, right? This isn't all about technology, although it is largely, but it's not entirely. Team culture. How is your organization embracing digital? Are you hiring the right people? And then customer experience. So this isn't just about the digital tool. It's also about what's happening offline. What is your holistic customer experience like? Are you creating the things, the functionalities that you need? Data and insights, putting data into the hands of business users to make data-driven decisions. So it really crosses multiple areas, Andy. And we cover these in detail in our report. So we encourage you to take a look at that. And we have this framework of stages that you can put yourself into different stages. This is a companion report to a report we did last year, where you can evaluate your business, your maturity as a business. Anything in here you want to highlight, Andy, in terms of stage 1 through 4 and how mature you are?
Well, you can be in a stage 1 for data and insights and in a stage 3 for customer experience. So it's not like you're in one stage completely. You can be in different stages. Now, you're not going to be in a stage 1 and a stage 4. I haven't seen a single company that is in a stage 1 for, say, digital tools and stage 4 for customer experience.
Right.
That doesn't happen. That said, I think what's helpful about this is you can figure out where you stand. So maybe you've got a real deficiency on the data side, but you're doing pretty well around tools. You bought some really good tools. You've got a good infrastructure in place. You just are pumping bad data through it, which is funny because in the last slide you talked about that. It's like, I think about how daunting this must be for a lot of companies. So you get through, the culture, the tools, the experience. Oh, and by the way, now you got to deal with all these data problems. So I still say data is the lifeblood of these organizations. If you don't get that right, nothing else works.
Yeah, and I think, so we provided some tools here to the market where you can look at the first report, which is establishing a baseline, which is available on our website at masterb2b.com. And you can look at download that and assess where you are from a digital maturity standpoint. Then you can use this report, which we just released, again, in partnership with commercetools, to show you the, what you can do about it, right? How do you advance your digital maturity? How do you get from a stage 1 to a stage 2 in these different areas? So if you go to, we're providing those watching online, you can go to a link here that's on the screen to download the report. If you're listening on our podcast, you can go to commercetools.com/resources and look for analyst reports, and you'll find it there on their website. You can download it. Again, there's no cost to this. It's a comprehensive, meaty report, folks. So I encourage you to take a look at that, and really, it'll help you along in your digital journey. A couple quick things I want to do. We're going to keep this one to Friday 15, Andy. Coming Friday, this fall, we have a whole series of roundtables we're doing all over the United States. Atlanta, Dallas, New York, LA, Chicago, Minneapolis, all over the place. We're going to have these up on our website shortly, Master B2B. Click on events. You can find them. These are great groups of 20 to 25 people. We talked several hours around key topics, then have a nice dinner and social time together. So it's a great time, free for practitioners to attend. Also, always want to remind people about our forum, masterb2b.com. Go to our forum. It's free for practitioners. It's only practitioners. Lots of conversations, questions happening there. So folks, encourage you to join that, masterb2b.com, and look for forum. So Andy, we did pretty well this week. Friday 15, almost 16 here, but we got ourselves, we're getting into a groove with these.
Oh, we'll upset it next week. Don't worry. But
yeah, probably.
I think the one thing I want to say is that, that you mentioned about the report. There was a report last year that helps you kind of peg where you are. And this year's report is about moving to the next stage and actually figuring out how to get from point to point. And there'll be a third one next year, just to tease, as though it's going to be a sequel. that will build on that as well. So you want to get all 3 in the series.
Yep. Yeah, and we're all about creating and helping practitioners move along in their digital maturity, peer-to-peer learning, etc. So, encourage you to download that, folks. We'll be back next week with another fun and exciting topic for Master B2B. Thanks for joining us today. We will see you next week.